recording here, and we'll do the record, do the song. I was going to do the song, but why not? And clap and sing. And I guess I'm just going to get to it. Welcome back.
Let's get to it.
Welcome. It's a new season, a new start for the End Podcast. I am Brandon, aka DJ So. Whatever you want to call me, I'm not particular. And I have my new co-host, Jerry Franklin Poe. Where you at, Jerry?
Hello. Jerry Franklin Poe in the building. Was it season 3?
This is season 3, man. I think so, man. Yeah, I'm so happy to have you. Thank you.
I'm glad to be here, brother.
That's good. How are you feeling about this?
I'm excited. Anything, we've been working together for a long time. Parties.
Yes. Right.
In a previous life.
Right. Your previous life. Yes.
Yeah, my previous life. Right. Because my wife don't let me do that stuff no more. But anytime we got a chance to work with you, it was always fun. So when you invited me in to be a part of this, I was super excited to be able to share content, create content together, and just help the people.
It's all about helping the people. It's definitely all about helping the people. So, today, what we're going to be talking about, for those of you who are new to the End Podcast, the whole idea, the End stands for intellectually nutritious. So it's all about being entertaining, but feeding your mind, making you better, right? And if we're making you better, then we're making ourselves better. So that's the motivation behind this. So, what we're going to be talking about today is overcoming adversity. We have all survived 2020, thank God.
Wow.
Right? It was crazy. So for most people, they're just happy to have survived. Some of us, we didn't make it.
Right.
Some of us are doing way better because they saw opportunity in the adversity. And most successful people, that's what they're good at. They're good at taking a negative situation and finding the positives and actually maximizing on that. So I thought it would be great to have a discussion about adversity, the adversity that Jerry has experienced. I'll share as well, and just kind of give the audience an idea of how we've overcome, or if we're overcoming adversity. We might be in the process of overcoming it, still trying to figure it out. So yeah, I'm going to start with you, man. No
All
pressure,
right.
though. No pressure.
To me, this topic is so critical for everyone, regardless of who they are, where they are in life, because just to be alive is adverse.
Right.
So there's different levels or different degrees of adversity. And last year was, for me personally, a level that was unprecedented. Like I've never experienced anything like 2020. I don't know anyone that had ever experienced,
Right.
anything like that. And so what I had been through in the past helped me, but still that year, or even this year,
Right.
This whole pandemic has done, mentally, emotionally, physically, it's done a job on us all. And so I will say, for me, the adversities I've experienced in my life, one of the major adversities I had before we get into 2020 and all that, one of the major ones I had was in college, failing out of school.
Oh, listen. And the reason why I'm hitting the cheer button on that is because I think for people who have not ever attended college, they think that people who go to college just have got it together, and don't struggle with, not struggle in the way of like actually failing out of school, because I too almost failed out of school. I was close.
Right.
I made it through. I had to actually lose a bunch of classes. I had to write a letter explaining my life circumstances and to why I was struggling now. And the result was, okay, we'll actually cancel out these last 2 semesters or whatever, and then make your GPA go back up and stuff. So, and there's a financial impact to that, right? Because those credits are gone.
And you paid for them, and
Right.
they don't give you a refund.
Right. Right. So you failed. Did you fail out did you fail out and then have to reapply and all that, or how did that work?
Yeah, so I was they call it academic dismissal.
Yeah.
That's what it was called. And it's like a letter I received basically said, in my opinion, what the letter says is your money is no longer good here.
Right.
Right. So, and I lost all my financial aid because they send a notice to everybody who gives you money. This person's no longer a student.
Right. So
I did what you did. I wrote a letter and I pleaded with them about, hey, I was going through some situations and I got reinstated.
Okay.
But my GPA still wasn't like stellar. It was above where it needed to be. But also at that same time, I lost something mentally. That zeal to be a student was kind of was gone. I didn't have
the excitement.
Yeah, it was
the enthusiasm
about going to class. So initially, my thought process was to get a job now because I didn't have a way to pay for school.
Okay.
And get a job, work, go to school part-time. But then the working thing got in the way because after I went to, and I'm not making any excuses. It's just for me.
No, you're explaining.
There are people who I know go to school. I didn't finish. I worked. But in the course of working, I was also interested. I guess it was 2 parts. The one, I lost the zeal for school, and the other part was I got introduced to entrepreneurship.
Okay.
So then it was like a battle in my mind, like, well, why am I doing all this to get a job when I could build a business that's maybe more interesting to me?
Correct.
So that's where my energy shifted. I guess it was more of an energy shift. My energy shifted to looking at building businesses and looking at entrepreneurship and looking at the mindset around generating revenue, marketing, sales, things like that. Okay. That became more exciting to me. And I guess it was practical.
Okay.
And so that goes back to the adversity part. The adversity part, one of my tips for adversity is vision. So what do you see? Like, what are you focused on? One of the ways to deal with adversity in your life is to be able to see something bigger than yourself.
Okay, yeah.
So if I tie in the pandemic to what I experienced when I was in my early 20s, I guess it was 21 at the time when I failed out of school, my focus on my family, right? So my focus on my family is one of the main things that drove me through the pandemic. So even when I was having breakdowns emotionally and thinking crazy thoughts,
right,
it was like, no, I can't do what I'm thinking. I can't give in to my emotions because I have 2 daughters who need a father.
All right.
Right. So whatever you see, whatever you focus on, I call it your light. What's your light? What's your light is going to help you overcome whatever adversity that you're facing. And everybody has to find their light for themselves. It's different for everybody.
Yes.
So with the college situation, my light was the business. So when I got knocked down, the idea of building a business drove me to be able to get back up. And then through the pandemic last year is the fact that I needed to be here to support. So it's like I didn't feel strong. Sometimes I didn't feel strong enough to support myself, but I was strong enough to support my family.
Your family. So for people that don't know, so your business, your business was totally contingent on you being able to travel and deal with groups of people, large groups of people. So the Rona took him out like completely,
Yeah. I was actually on the road speaking when they closed the country.
Wow.
And I guess they did a press conference. I was, during the middle of a conference I was at, they did a press conference, and I guess I was on a break and I saw that, the hotel had CNN on or whatever. And then I got a text message or email and people were like, well, the thing is we're canceling everything. I'm like, what in the world's going on? Because at first they were saying you could have a certain number of people. Then they went from 50 people in the room to like 15 people in the room. Okay. So I got this notice. It was like, oh, we're shutting everything down. Everybody go home.
That's it. Party's over.
Yeah. It's like, well, what do you do now? So then the pivoting, the whole pivot became this power, this word everybody's using, pivot.
Correct.
And, some ways you could pivot, but the pivoting, it changes everything because the need for certain services diminishes with the virtual world. Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been through a lot. And so what has been your process as you've moved through 2020, right? Because there is you being self-made. And I think a lot of people, they think about, I want to work for myself. I want to be my own boss. The thing is, you never work for yourself. You work for the people that cut the check for you. Right. So now you're in a position where no one, even if they want to, can cut the check for you in the way that it was before, because you're not going to be in a conference. You're not going to be in a hotel hall speaking to, hundreds of people at a time on stage. Right. So, at best you can Zoom it out. You can, but everything is shut down. So what has been your process to kind of dealing with this past year? Like what is your light changed to? What frequency has your light changed to, if anything at all? Or are you still trying to figure it out? Is this being here at this podcast part of the frequency change?
Yeah, that's part of it. I don't even want to call it the age of the pandemic, because the pandemic's still going on, right?
So it's we're not Texas. We're ignoring Texas and Mississippi.
The situation has continued, even though 2020 is over. Some of the situations have continued. So yeah, I believe I'll speak for myself. I'm going to speak for anybody else. I think we're constantly adjusting the frequency or tuning the frequency. We're still trying to figure it out, because I don't believe the world is ever going to go back to the way it was before.
No, and it shouldn't. And here's the thing. I got to say this. I've been telling people this. People wanting things to go back to normal, to me, is the most insane notion that anybody could have. Because what was is what got us to where we are right now, right? Normal got people distracted. It not got their eye off the ball, willing to listen to an idiot in the White House who clearly was lying and just, he's saying things that doesn't make sense, and people are still going along with it. Normal got us to where people had to work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And then as soon as the work stops, they don't have anything saved. So like they're jammed up. So no, normal was bad, right? We want a new normal, and we want it to be better. So yeah, no, I know people, one thing in their mind, they're like, oh, they just want to be able to hug their loved ones. They want to be able to go out and party. They want to be able to do these things. But this is the perfect opportunity to change and reinvent, to have a better existence. So no normal. We don't want how it was. We want a new way of life where it's healthier financially, emotionally, intellectually, and physically.
And to add to what you said, there are businesses and organizations who acted one way pre-pandemic, right?
Yes.
So I know people who work for organizations where the organization said we can't have you work from home.
Right. Yeah.
Right. We can't. We gotta come. We gotta come to the office. Like what?
Right.
Nobody can work. How you gonna be working from home? Right. And now for over a year, everybody's been working from home. So a lot of excuses or justifications or reasons that were given before have been stripped away.
Yes, they have.
With organizations and businesses pivoting, right? So how can you go back to what you said before? Because we've already proven that it wasn't true.
The proof of concept. Yeah. So, and I mean, there's the financial advantage to having people work at home. Now, it sucks for the real estate, for commercial real estate, but as a business, you can have, you're probably getting more productivity out of your people working from home that want to work from home than you were when they were in the office. So, and you're not paying rent.
It's going to be I think we're going to see a balance. We're going to see a mixture. We're going to see, because even within my industry of professional speaking and coaching, consulting, and stuff like that, people are going to want to go back to conferences. They're going to want to go back to the feeling of being and seeing people on stage, right?
Yes.
But there's still going to be some people who like the idea. If there's a conference in California, I don't necessarily want to fly to it. If you got it streaming virtually, I can watch it from my home in Pennsylvania. That's so right. There's going to be this mixture. Like you're going to have to deal with both needs, because some people like one. Like now that people have tasted, like they tasted different food, their palate has expanded.
Right.
So it's not going to be like, you can take this away, and they're like,
right.
The mind has expanded, and once the mind expands, it will never go back to the same shape or form it was.
It shouldn't.
It was before. And I don't know if everyone acknowledges that. So one of the things you were talking about with the frequency strategy, or with the pandemic or adversity, is in the acceptance or the embracing.
Right.
So when things shifted, and I guess initially, I didn't know, or I don't know if anyone knew, how long
this was going to last, right?
Because it was all this temporary talk initially, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, this is going to be for a little bit of time. We're going to do so many days, and the days turned into, or weeks, I should say, turned into months, and then months, turned into
a year,
more months into the year, right? So as you start to get into it, I think the emotional part, what the business side of everything changing, that's whatever it is, but there's like an emotional part that comes with all this, because life has changed. Like as I was driving here today to be with you in the studio, I felt weird.
Really?
Right, because I was checking my pockets, because almost like I forgot what to put in my pockets.
Oh, because you just in the house like that,
because I haven't traveled that far outside of my local. I go to the grocery store. I haven't really been out and about. So it's like, what did I do? What did I used to do? Like, what do I need? Like, what is it that I need? Because I haven't been going that many places. There's, we go out here and there, take out a grocery store, but I haven't been, doing a lot. And I'm not saying what anyone should or shouldn't do. It's just what.
No, you don't have to qualify anything. We're talking about your experience.
This is what we did. What we did based on our health situations.
Correct. Right? No. I mean,
so it was so there was an emotional part where I had to accept that whatever I was feeling was okay.
Yes.
And I should be with it, or deal with it, or go through it, or not ignore it.
Well, listen, you said the magic word, and it's acceptance.
Right. Acceptance
is where I think most of us fall down the hardest. It's really not the process. If you fall down, getting up is not the problem for a lot of people, except for they're so caught up on the fact that they fell down and they shouldn't have had to fall down, and it's unfair that they fell down, that they lose sight on the idea, like, okay, well, this is your opportunity to get up. And maybe when you get up, you can run faster than you did before. You can only think about one thing at one time. And so if you're spending your mental energy on the fact that you don't want to accept what has just happened to you, then you do not have the mental bandwidth or the emotional capacity to be able to pick yourself up and create your new whatever needs to happen. So no, acceptance that's the word of the day. Where's the little Muppet that's going to run past and hold up the sign for acceptance, or the cheering? So,
and that's part of dealing with adversity. Is like, I believe. And I'm not advocating watching Dr. Phil's TV show, but he wrote a book. Okay. He wrote a book. I have lots of books, right? That's okay. I have. Well, I guess I'm addicted to books, programs and mental food, right? I'm addicted to that type of stuff. So there was a book written by Dr. Phil called Life Strategies. And one of the life strategies was that you have to accept where you are in order to change the situation.
It's beautiful.
And for me, part of the acceptance was accepting what I was feeling, but also accepting what I got addicted to.
Right.
Right. So, we were all dealing with stress, but there were certain stresses I was missing. And I was going through a withdrawal of those stresses not being there.
Gotcha.
So I was used to ripping and running,
Right.
jumping on plane to plane, being in the hotel, negotiating with people about room setup. I was there was like almost like, I guess it was like an adrenaline. There's a,
Right.
and some of this stuff was things I used to complain about. Like, oh man, I hate this stuff. Every time I come to this hotel, they got this messed up, and then it's like, well, it's gone. It's like, I'm not I'm not dealing with these things. I'm not dealing with all these people and attitudes and all this stuff. And it was like, what do I do with myself? Like, what am I doing?
Right.
So that space, that silence, the slowing down was different. I wasn't used to being still.
Right. Right. But being still is the opening for ideas to understand who you are. And that's probably the best thing that could occur. And I don't want to ignore the fact that people lost their lives, people lost their homes, like so much devastation and damage from this pandemic. And overall the last 4 years that we've spent with this political leadership, but what this past year has brought us is the opportunity to listen to the voices that are in our heads, to sit down and understand what really and truly is important, what we should be doing versus what we have to do. And I think most of us for however long have been operating under doing the things that we have to do with very little of what we want to do. Countless people I spoke to, and it's like, oh, I sat home and I watched everything on Netflix, and I've done this, and I'm bored, and I'm this, and I'm like, well, did you like what you were doing before this happened? And they were like, no. Is there something that you want to do with your life? Well, yeah, I want to do. So why aren't you spending your time like doing it? Like, you're getting a check, right? So you're home, you're still getting paid for the people that were getting paid. So you don't have these financial things to worry about at this moment in time. Why aren't you investigating what you need to do in order to have the life to be able to build the life that you really want to have instead of the life you've kind of inherited? So,
and to add to that, so part of the embracing or the acceptance, this pain, this discomfort, this breakdown, right? That's tied to transformation.
Yes.
So when you were saying the stillness, the quiet, for a lot of us, we are used to the noise, and the noise is sometimes blocking your transformation. And then you don't want to be with the quiet because the quiet is uncomfortable.
Yes.
Right. Which is why they have music on the elevators, right? To make people feel more comfortable. They put this music in the background, even though the music's not good. It's just something better than just sitting here with like
hearing the pulleys
silence.
Go up and down.
Right.
Yeah.
The silence. People are uncomfortable with silence. So when I think about adversity and going through something, tribulation, the heartache, all the stuff that we went through, part of my process was going back to how are you being rebuilt and what is being stripped away. With the silence, when you're talking about what do you want to do? So for some of us, we're still asking ourselves the question, what do we want? Because we may not be clear on or 100% clear on what it is we want. But I got clear on some things of what I didn't want.
Which is actually more important.
Yeah. So it's like, do you really want to be dealing with there was like you've been home for all these months. It's like, well, do you really want to go back to jumping on planes? And I like the points, right? I like the status,
right?
I like the I like being preferred and all that stuff. But is it worth what is it worth? So I looked at that part of this adversity, of this challenge. That's like, what's the transformation? Who are you becoming through the pain? And because most transformation in life, it doesn't feel comfortable to go through a transformation. You transform your body, whatever it may be.
It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's not supposed to be pleasant. If you remember growing pains as you're growing up, there's a point where it hurts. And you got to let go of things as you grow. Like the same way, if you change sizes, if you're getting bigger because you're gaining muscle, or if you're losing weight, those clothes that you once fit no longer fit. You shouldn't be holding on to those things. You got to let it go and move into the new thing. So the new clothing. So that's just what it's all about. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. They don't want to be uncomfortable. They don't, or they just don't want to be uncomfortable. That's what it all comes down to. I think, people are like, what's the meaning of life? And I feel like the meaning of life is to be people want to be as comfortable as they possibly can. Unfortunately, in order to get to be really comfortable, meaning that you'll have the life that you want, you got to spend a lot of time being uncomfortable to get to the point to where, all right, well, now I am comfortable. So, yeah. So
some people, one of my mentors, he called it your frustration quotient.
Okay, I like that.
How much frustration you can handle or deal with will determine your success level. Mm-hmm. So people who have the ability to deal with high levels of discomfort are excelling at a higher rate than those who are not. Because if you don't want to deal with people, if people frustrate you, then you're not going to be dealing with a lot of people.
Right.
You're not going to be in the leadership. You're not going to be in the spotlight. If you don't want to deal with the big problems, you're going to avoid certain situations in your career and in your life to eliminate the frustration because you don't want to deal with it. Right. So this adversity, frustration is all part of life success. Right. There's going to, everything that you do is going to be that you want to be successful within the industry, career, business, family, whatever. Marriage, right? Relationships, right. People think like, oh, you get married, it's a great, big wedding. And but then it's like the real part takes place after right. The honeymoon is over, right? That's when the frustration, that's when the discomfort, that's when the stuff, the work, right? The work, yes. the work. So the work part, and even those who are biblical listening to this, Jesus talked about the fact that, you're going to have to go through something. He said it rains on the just and the unjust.
Sure does.
So that the part about going through stuff cannot be avoided.
It's actually a part of life. It's you can't have cliche. It's like you can't enjoy a sunny day without a rainy day. You can't enjoy good without experiencing bad. You can't enjoy sweet without tasting a little bitter. If you had nothing but good, nothing but sweet, nothing but sunny days, it'll drive you crazy. And if you don't believe me, talk to anybody who's lived in Hawaii for any amount of time. I've known a couple of people that moved out there the first year, second year, they loved it. Third year, they wanted to blow their brains out because every day was exactly the same. The weather was perfect. And coming from areas where there was 4 seasons and there was rainy days and snow and stuff like that, it was very hard for them to and at first I'm like, yo, that's kind of weird. Like, you sound like you're whining about some stuff. But then when I really did think about it, it's like, yeah, if every day was 70 and sunny and blue skies, like, yeah, that sounds great, but you would no longer appreciate it. The same way you don't appreciate having electricity until the power goes out. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, snap.
What's going on? How can we live, right?
Right.
You triggered a memory for me. I believe it was The Matrix. Matrix 1. Mm-hmm. When, I forget who was talking about, they were the machine people were, talking to Mr. Anderson. Right. Mr. Anderson. They were saying, the Matrix didn't work at first because people rejected it. Okay. Because it was too perfect.
Right.
Like, we gave you this perfect. We created this perfect world to plug these human beings in, and it was killing them. They rejected it, so we had to build a matrix where stuff is jacked up.
Right.
And then once we built the matrix, it was jacked up. They were like, "Oh, this is good. It's all good now."
Right.
It was
right.
too perfect. It was too perfect. They couldn't accept it being perfect. The utopia world, they rejected it. What they accepted was the life that was difficult, challenging, hitting your toe on on the
Right.
chair, saying more real to them than this world where nothing bad was happening.
Right. So yeah, that's it. We need that. So
I do want to leave people with an idea of the balance between times that are adverse and times that may be more pleasant. The key is to help you make it through the adverse times is what are you doing during the pleasant times?
yes.
So I have a concept where I build an emotional bank account, and I'm talking to my daughters about this. Like, do not discount recognition. Do not discount these certificates you're getting. Don't discount this stuff, because when things go bad, that's what you withdraw.
Yes.
So during during the times where things are high, you want to store some of that greatness, that goodness. So when things don't go so well, you can always make a withdrawal from that
right.
emotional bank account.
That's a great concept. I'm gonna clap it up for you on that one. That is, well, it's funny because I took a leadership course many years ago, and one of the speakers, he had us do this exercise where we had to chart our life. We had to do a timeline, right? And it was like, hey, what was the first bad thing that you remember happening to you, or the first good thing, and then what was the next bad thing or the next good thing, and so it went back and forth like that. And so when we were done, you could, if you as a graph, you could see it looked like a heartbeat, and it was going, oscilloscope, and you could see the peaks and the valleys. But the point was that every bad time was followed by a good time, and every good time was followed by a bad time. And every time you encountered either one of those, it was a deeper experience. It was like the bad got worse and the good got great, and so on and so on. So the takeaway was, understand that, hey, yeah, every time you have a bad time, hold on tight, because good times are coming. And when you have a good time, hold on tight to that. It's for use, the emotional bank account that you can pull from when you're going through the bad times to help you to get through. It's a part of life. And there's all kinds of cliches about this or that, but one of my favorite ones is, life is 90%, not 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. And during these hard times, I think it's very important that we, individually and also in support of other people, remind ourselves that there is always an opportunity to to take advantage of whatever's going on with you. Like, if your cable goes out, then that's an opportunity to read. If you lose your job, it's an opportunity to get a better job or to take some time off to figure stuff out. If you fell out of school, then this is an opportunity to figure out where you need to be, because obviously school might not be for you at this point in time, or what you're
Right.
learning isn't there for you. I don't know of any uberly successful person on a financial level that made their money during good times. Their stories are always like, oh, they did this when things were at their worst. They were living at their car. They were living out of their car. They were hiding in the basement from creditors because things were so bad, and they were able to figure out what direction they needed to go in order to find the success that they wanted to have in life. So as we move forward to, probably the roaring 20s, the 1918, the Spanish flu led to the roaring 20s. We're probably going to have the same result, right? But we're not there yet. And this is the opportunity for everyone who is in a position, somewhat of a position to, and I'm talking about people who are healthy and whatnot, to get off of their butts in terms of being depressed about, because life isn't normal like how it used to be, and seek out the opportunity to build to start building a better life. So
Count your victories.
yeah, count them up, count them up, count them up.
Count your victories. We spend more time focused on what's not right
than what is.
What is right. And, there used to be a song. I grew up in the church, PK, preacher's kids. So there was a song back in the day called Be Grateful, because somebody else has it worse off than you.
Yeah.
So when this came up a couple of our dialogues, you're like, well, how's it going? I'm like, well, I'm healthy. I'm like, when you focus on the things that are working, it changes your attitude about what you're experiencing. Then when it's like, well, I could say, well, man, I used to be traveling on planes, and I'm, you could, well, yes, that is not true. That is true, but you haven't experienced like other people have been going through. You've been blessed to not have to lose a car, lose a house, lose an immediate family member, be stuck in the hospital on a ventilator, with all these things that people that you see around. We see all this trauma, and we're all going through trauma. What I think, or I hope people recognize, is that regardless of where you are during this, everybody's experiencing trauma on a certain level.
Yes, they are.
When the towers went down in 2001, people saw it on TV and experienced post-traumatic stress syndrome. Yeah. So the fact that you've seen any of this happen, you've been changed by some level of trauma. And I'm not a person who specializes in that, so you got to go see a professional. But I'm just acknowledging that the possibility that's happening. But what I'm just saying is that when we focus on what we have, there was a speech, Adam Clayton Powell, he gave a speech called "What's in Your Hand." So I like to focus on, what do you have in your hand? Because you're talking about working on something. What do you have in your hand to work with? What do you have? And actually, his context, his biblical text, I believe, was Moses in the burning bush, when Moses was coming up with all these excuses about why he wasn't qualified to lead the children. In the bush would be like, well, what's in your hand? Like I said, well, use that.
Use what you got.
Use that. So what is in your hand? What do you have right now that you can use to turn into something? Because even in business, when people looking at opportunities, they're always like, well, I don't have such and such.
Oh, man. Listen, look. You will always be in a deficit. Like there will always be things that you won't have. You will have less in your hand than what you could have around the world. That's the best way I can put it, because it just popped in my head right now. But yeah, you're never going to be able to have it all. You can have Jeff Bezos's money, but he doesn't have all the money in the world. Right. You can have 30, 40 cars, but you're not, like, there's always going to be more that you could have, but you don't have it. So for happiness, the foundation of happiness is wanting what you already have, what's available to you, like an appreciation. If you appreciate what you do have, that's the way to happiness. Now, I will say that I think it is important that we as people do spend a little bit of time mourning. Being something bad happens to you, there is nothing wrong with being sad or being upset. Whatever. It's an important part of the process, right?
Through it.
However, it's important not to get so comfortable with the feeling of misery and sadness and becoming a professional victim that it stays with you. Like, you need to, it's almost like going to the bathroom. Like, you don't get on the toilet and then after you do your business, just sit there and hang out. Wow, your legs will go numb, right? No, you flush it and you move on with your life. And that's what you have to do emotionally.
Stages.
Yeah, just mourn it, be upset. Do whatever crying you need to cry, do. Drink what you do. Be sad, but put a limit on it. Like, okay, now you've done it, and let's move on. So.
Right. The old saying that you may be crying at night, but joy will come in the morning. Right. So the weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning, which is, I think, a scripture, Psalms 30, verse 5, I believe it is. But for some people, they don't know how long that night's going to be. Right. And what we're saying is, yes, some of our nights, for some of us, are longer than others. But at some point, the sun has to come up. At some point, the sun has to come up. And at some point, we need to move from one stage to the next stage.
For me, what helped me, what has helped me to endure, to be able to move forward, is just understanding, like, I'm always asking myself, is what I'm doing right now going to serve me moving forward to getting me to where I want to be? Like, if I want to drive down to Miami, it doesn't help to drive north to Philadelphia, right? So everything, that's how I go about my day. Every decision I make, is this going to get me closer to where I ultimately want to be? So being sad doesn't get me to where I need to be. So I just refuse to acknowledge it for more than a minute or two when something goes wrong. It's like if you get a flat tire, you pull over, you can either spend 5-10 minutes lamenting that you got this flat tire, the financial impact it's going to have, whatever, or you can take that time, fix the tire, put the spare on the tire, and save the anger and the frustration for when you're back driving down the road. 9 times out of 10, after you're driving back down the road, you're not as upset because you're in motion, as if you were just sitting on the side of the road and being upset about it. So try to take that kind of energy. Like, I will deal with the emotional impact of dealing with this problem after I've got the problem at least managed to the point where a solution is on the way, if I haven't been able to solve it in this moment. And 9 times out of 10, you'll realize that you don't even have the energy anymore or the care to be upset about it. So,
and to circle back to where we started, vision and acceptance.
Yes.
So, or perception and acceptance. So you're saying it's okay to be in the feelings or to have the feelings, to accept that, but where you see yourself going determines how long you stay there.
Right.
What people need to know or understand in life, you don't feel your way into action. You act your way into feeling.
Oh, we flip. Hold on.
Yeah.
You need to put that on a shirt.
Everybody, they're waiting, right? They're waiting until when I feel like it. Like, I never feel like getting out of bed.
Wow.
I don't. Yeah. I like the warm. Like, my bed is
club
warm,
bed,
comfortable. You know what I mean? It's
club
like,
bed is all right,
it's
right?
It's like, yo, I'm not the morning. You know what I mean? Like, early in the morning, I'm not the guy like get up. Like, so I've got to like get up and move, and then once I get up and move, then it's like I know me. Like, if I sit down, you're working on a project and you sit down. It's like, and I sit down, it's like, okay, it's gonna take me a while to get back up. So I got to stay up. Like, I just got to I got to keep moving. Because once I sit down, like, yo, it's over. Like, yo, I'm chilling. I'm down. Yeah. So we have to understand that your feeling is tied to your movement. So if you don't move, then you're going to continue to stay stuck in the emotion that you have. You start moving, it causes your body to feel something different. It causes your body to feel something different. Your mind to feel something. You start to experience different things. So don't wait for the feeling. Take the action first, and then the feeling will come.
It's like working out. Like, there are plenty of times that I don't want to work out. And every time that I've not wanted to work out, but I've gotten my butt up and gone, got started working out, within 5 to 10 minutes, I'm happy that I'm working out. And that I didn't want to is totally out the window. I mean, there has been a time or two where I'm like, man, screw this. I'm not feeling it. and I left it. But that's 2 times out of 100 where the 98 times where I'm like, I'm glad that I actually got up and did it. So,
yeah. And so I know for those who were listening, it's like, oh, that sounds great. I know it sounds good. from a theoretical perspective. However, it's also true. You know, when Jesus was talking to his disciples about the fact that they were going to experience rejecting it, they were going to experience people not liking them. They're going to experience people saying, "Oh, you suck. This message is terrible. Like, oh, we're going to come after you." He said, "Shake the dust off your feet, move to the next town." So there was an action first, like shake off whatever it is that you have, where you are. He didn't say stay there. He didn't say sit down. He didn't say take it. He's like, shake it off and move. And sometimes we get stuck sitting in the dirt, in the dust for too long, and we don't get up and shake it off and move to the next spot, the next town, the next location. Because, you know, they always talk about in business, location. Your location, wherever you are, is tied to your next blessing, your feeling, whatever it is. So you got to move to the next spot in order to get what it is that you say you want. But a lot of that is tied to what do you see for yourself first. Like, I understand some of us are feeling challenged, it's tough or whatever, but what do you see for your life? What do you see? What is that light? So you have to find your light.
It's all about the light.
And then once you find your light, whatever, you know, they said the light at the end of the tunnel. Well, you can't get there. They can't make the progress if you don't see it first. So you have to see it and then, you know, make progress. Perfection is not the key. Progress is the key. And, you know, the feelings will change as you start to make the progress towards the light, the thing that's holding you.
There you go. That's it. You know, I think it's time for us to wrap. Hold on, there we go. That was good. That was a great place to.
Man, I'm glad to be here.
I'm happy that you're here and that we can share and hopefully help people out. I think the major takeaway for us for this episode is get busy. Life is going to kick your ass. It kicks and it's indiscriminately. It doesn't discriminate. So it's very important that regardless if you get knocked down 8 times, get up 9. You have enough. You have everything you need to live the life, the kind of life that you want to live. And so just keep pushing. Just keep fighting. Just when one door closes, another door opens, but you have to be the one willing to walk through that door. And that's what it all comes down to for me. Do you have anything to add to this?
I think you summed it up right there, brother.
All right.
Summed it up.
Well, we're going to close this out, but make sure that you do follow the End Podcast at Instagram, on Instagram. If you would like to follow Mr. Poe, what is your social media? Or do you even want to put that out there?
Yeah, it's fine. At Jerry Poe, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. At Jerry Poe is where you find me.
Very inspirational dude. You should definitely give him a follow. You can follow me at DJ Silk, and I actually have mixes on Mixcloud.com. We'll do a little cross promotion, and that's Mixcloud.com//DJ Silk 12. I need to add mixes to that. It's been a minute, but there's content up there. But you guys keep your head up, keep fighting, keep being the best version of yourself that you can, and that's it. Until the next time, this is the End Podcast. I am Brandon DJ Silk and
Jerry Franklin Poe.
There you go, and we are out.